Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is PsychoGold and this is PsychoGold Videos, and today we're going to be checking out Vinland Saga episode 6. Now in the last episode of Vinland Saga, we had Thorfinn challenging the head of the pirates, for want of a better way of describing them, about 3 times, I think, since he killed his father, and yeah, he didn't really have much success. He did, however, not impress him, but he did kind of surprise him in the final duel at the end of the episode, where he actually managed to nearly throw the dagger into his head. And he's come up with an ultimatum that he's not going to keep dueling a kid, because he's not going to win. So what he's got to do instead is he's got to have had something great happen to him on the battlefield. He's got to prove himself as a warrior, basically. Now, I don't know how he expects him to do that at the moment, but I think that's the point. He doesn't, so therefore he won't have to worry about fighting him again. But I think Thorfinn is going to take that to heart and is going to devote himself to doing that singular task. Now, the one thing I am confused about is it appears that they are leaving England, but Thorfinn is not, because he is basically now stuck there all on his own, and he's been trying to learn how to survive in the countryside of England. He was hunting in the last episode. We saw that he was at least able to kind of fend for himself, but it's still a very harsh condition to live in. I mean, technically he could probably go back to that ramshacked village now and take one of the huts for his own, unless the Vikings burnt it to the ground when they left, I don't know. But either way, I'm very curious to see where exactly this series is heading next, because I don't think Thorfinn is going to be left in England. I think he's either going to stow away on the ship, or something's going to happen that's going to mean that they're either delayed in England, or one of the two. Basically, either Thorfinn's going to be on the ship, or they're going to stay in England. But either way, let's find out exactly what's going to happen next. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, well, okay. He's on the boats then. We have a narrator out of nowhere. Out of nowhere! Let's get narrating! Oh damn, we're getting a proper history lesson here. Yeah, it's such an interesting time in history to learn about being English, and I'm actually Cornish, so I'm technically from the areas that the Vikings colonized. The north and the south, all the coastal areas. So it's quite interesting how similar those areas of the country are. Like, they have very similar accents, we have very similar upbringing / ways of life, and then you go towards like city areas that it's completely different. Now, people have various different opinions on people who are obviously from the south and the north, but what I find hilarious is if you go proper north and proper south, i.e. where the water is, then they're not actually that different. It's the southern cities and the northern cities that don't seem to get along with each other and have vastly different accents and approaches to life. Yeah, this is the reality of war, Thorfinn. Oh, CGI. Oh, I missed who that victory was. I didn't see what it said underneath the victory bit. Yes, the father doesn't sound so daft now, does he, for not wanting to indulge in all of this? Ha! Oh, don't worry. If you live here long enough, it gets cold. Probably not back then, though. I actually had the weather that everybody thinks we should have. Oh! The regular army don't like the pirates, so that's interesting. Oh, okay. So they get to negotiate almost directly with the people who are tasked to attack the land. I think you're being ambushed, my friends. Yep. Oh, don't shoot the horse. That's not fair. Damn. Hit my ass. You're gonna lose quite a few people just running at them. Oh, no. That wasn't enough. Yeah, Thorfinn's getting an interesting sort of moment of realization. He's not going to try and pick this as his moment, is he? He had no problem standing and fighting against Askeladd. Oh! Askeladd is determined to keep mentally prodding him. There we go! Gonna say, you're small and have a knife. You should be able to do some decent damage. You gotta be smarter though. Oh! That works too. Still, congrats to the kid for actually getting the kill. Ah, what wonderful CGI blood flying through the air. And now comes the moral realization of your actions. PTSD, trauma, all the things a healthy growing boy needs. Someone's playing Mortal. Oh! Okay, yeah, he's got over his aversion to running into the fights, it seems. Ah, it's time for a montage. Nobody kills you but me. Oh, I was gonna say, in pure strength, he's not gonna be able to stand a chance, but there we go. Oh! Now he's beginning to look more like he does in the opening. I like the way he's doing all the like flashy spins and maneuvers, like he knows martial arts or something, but he doesn't. King Edgar. Yeah, to be fair, I think I vaguely remember learning about Edgar. I do remember people saying he did some good stuff. Honestly, history used to be one of my stronger points. It's really not anymore. At some point, I'll have to try and read into more of the era again. Oh, hello, doggo. I wonder. I mean, so I'm trying to work out if this is a stupid question or not. But basically, I was gonna say they sent him to scout. But how long's he been scouting for? You'd think they'd have moved in, not necessarily to come after him. I'm sure they don't really care, but you know what I mean. Now, I'm not going to question the logic of this, but if they're English, or Anglo-Saxons, and he's a Dane, and a Viking, how are they understanding each other? I mean, I know they're all speaking Japanese, so I probably shouldn't read too much into it, but you know what I mean, right? He shouldn't actually be able to communicate unless they're speaking Danish or he somehow knows English. Oh, okay. Fair enough, that makes more sense. I like her attitude though, like, I'm a Christian, therefore I shouldn't leave an injured kid in the road. Oh wow, that's an old-fashioned viewpoint right there. Definitely don't have that anymore. Oh damn, his hair really has grown when it's all brushed out. Oh. He looks like a pleasant, happy person. Yeah, she's gonna protect him, and him, in inverted commas, by saying it's not him. Yeah, he might not be able to speak her language, but he knows what she just did. Because he killed 2 people, even though he's a kid. I'm guessing, as she's gonna probably work out, he doesn't have the greatest life environment. Yeah, he's not a replacement for your son, and as painful as that is. But he did just try and save you. You should leave. Ah, ha, ha. Oh, that's clever. They're gonna go and try and put out the fire unarmed, and then go straight into the Danish, well, the Vikings. They're not the Danish military, but you know what I mean. Yeah, he said run for a reason. Damn. That is Thorfinn, son of the Troll of Jom, and he is living up to his father's name, it seems. That would be his, I wouldn't call them friends, but it's the closest thing he's got to him. I mean, maybe some of them are his friends now. He doesn't seem too fussed to be with them. Yeah. That's the only bit that is difficult to kind of like them with. It's like, it's one thing to see them fighting other soldiers and being good at what they do, even if they are a bit underhanded about it. But when they just ransack villages that aren't full of anyone with any fighting capacity, it is kind of like, nah, definitely not good guys. You can't even be like, ah, they're just on different sides. It's not the case at all. Butchering civilians doesn't show anything. And let's not talk about what they're obviously going to do with the women. Still. Oh, the broken comb. Thorfinn has a job to do and he's going to do it. It's just like a right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Vinland Saga episode 6. Now that the recycling lorry has been and gone and has stopped making an absolute racket, I can talk about it. So that episode was basically the... Well, actually no. You know what? At the beginning of this, I said that I want to know how Thorfinn is either going to get on the ship or the Vikings are going to stay in England. And interestingly, the answer was it was both. Now, I didn't really get the sense in the last episode that Askeladd was essentially saying that Thorfinn could stay with them. So I'm kind of annoyed that it just cuts to him being on the ship, being kind of taunted, but not at the same time by the rest of the crew. That kind of was kind of like, I really wanted there to be a bit more to that, but at the same time, doesn't really matter. It's just pointless fluff, I suppose. We all knew he was going to stick with them, mostly because the opening shows it. You know, and if you've read the manga, then you already, I guess, know everything that's going to happen, so... I don't know, it's one of those things. So from that, we then got a montage, which was also unexpected, but I thought in this particular case, that was actually kind of appreciated and necessary. I actually really liked the montage. It showed a passage of time, though I'm not really sure how much time, but it gave a way for Thorfinn to basically become useful in a very short amount of time and not be bogged down in the details and the gory graphics. Now, the first battle that he had wasn't part of the montage where he saw all of the dead English and Danes, but I like the fact that they got ambushed and that it kind of showed that they needed to give a bit more attention to their surroundings. Like, the English weren't just going to roll over and be easy to kill opponents. They actually took out quite a few members of the Vikings crew, so that was kind of nice that they were thrust into a situation that was, I don't want to say life or death for Askeladd and maybe his mate the barbarian, but it was definitely life or death for Thorfinn and the rest of the crew, as both parties suffered losses. I know that they did eventually come out victorious, but they didn't come out of it unscathed. The fact as well that Thorfinn was about to be killed by one of the English soldiers, and then Askeladd ran his sword through him and also kind of cut into Thorfinn as well. I'm still not sure whether or not Askeladd actually thought he was dead or whether he actually saved his life, because you can never tell with Askeladd. He doesn't exactly wear his emotions on his sleeve. He keeps everything close to the chest, and I can't help but feel like he did save Thorfinn because he wants to see if Thorfinn could actually become a good a fighter as his dad. I think Askeladd wants to see if it's possible, and whilst it's happening, he would be a great asset to their company, but B, I wonder if Askeladd does want to see if Thorfinn can give him that good fight like Thor's did, because obviously Thor's completely and utterly trounced him, and I think Askeladd wants another fight like that, and who better to give it to him than the son of the guy who flat beat him, you know? I think there's a little bit of both sides, and again, we don't know what Askeladd's emotions are or what his thoughts are because we never really hear them. He jumps between being kind of a playful, fast and loose pirate, but on the inside he's a more solemn, stoic warrior. And I think the reason he's like that is because of his life. I don't necessarily think that he chose this path. I think this is the path that ended up becoming his due to his experiences, whatever happened to him before we met him. And I got a funny feeling that the barbarian guy that eats the mushrooms, he might be similar, because he seems fairly like normal and calm. He doesn't seem too brutish normally, but obviously we've seen what he can become when he eats those mushrooms. But anyway, and this episode, obviously Thorfinn starts to get a lot better. He starts to really hone his skills after he gets that first kill of his own when they go on the attack that they were paid to do so and deal with the lord of that particular region's troops. Thorfinn then gets a not a taste for blood, I would say, as such, but he definitely does have that kind of rage that allows him to push through it. As we'd already seen previously, he really does have that laser vision focus that Thor's had, that his sister has, and potentially his mother has, though we haven't yet seen it in the same way. But I do think, coming from the two of them, him and his sister are very much able to just focus and get whatever they want done, and nothing's going to get in their way. Like I said in the last episode, his sister was using that same strength to basically push through and keep everything running herself when 4 people were doing it previously. And now Thorfinn is using that same inner strength to basically kill anything that gets in his way. And as some of the other guys said in this episode as the montage was going on, he has, in what I would consider a relatively short space of time, yes, I know it was a montage, but even so, he has gone from basically being unable to even stand his ground to being able to take on multiple opponents without actually breaking into a sweat or getting nervous. Obviously, we saw in this episode that he took an arrow and then he had dogs after him, so he could have potentially ended his journey there, was it not for the help of the English who took him in. But he kind of returned the favor of their help by trying to tell them to run in advance. Obviously, they didn't, and he's kind of just like, alright. And it was that moment of, he thought about his family, he was very annoyed that they hadn't run, and he was like, I told you to go, you had your chance, god damn it. And then he just took a deep breath, and then just carried on with his Viking bros, for want of a better way of putting it. It's like, well, I tried. Anyway, back to the killing. For him, it's all about making sure that he gets that opportunity to take on Askeladd at a later date. But until then, it would appear that he is content, I suppose, to basically carry on with them and just basically embrace it. Because as far as he's concerned, the only thing that matters, I think, to him is proving himself on the battlefield and then killing Askeladd. But it does just go to show the depths to which he's willing to go, the amount of people he's already killed as a kid, the fact that he's now become essentially their like scout, and he's so good at taking out people stealthily. There's obviously nobody in Askeladd's army that could replace him, quite frankly, now that they have this very useful scout. And he's able to kind of not blend in as such, but the fact that, like, in this episode he got taken in by people because he's a kid is also to his advantage. Though, obviously, if it wasn't for the fact that the old woman had kind of older values than I'm assuming it was her daughter, yeah, the daughter would have turned him in straight away, so can't always rely on that. But in this case, it served him well. This episode also actually had quite a lot of action in it, where I'm not saying the last episode didn't, but I definitely think, like, there was a subset of people that I was seeing having discussions on the internet that were saying that Vinland Saga isn't an action show. It's more about looking at the lifestyle of the people of that time period, what's going on in history, the emotional ramifications of being a warrior. And yes, that is in there, but at the same time, I actually think there's been quite a lot of action across the board for all 6 episodes of Vinland Saga we've seen so far, and I'd be surprised if it didn't stay that way. I'm sure we'll get the odd episode that's very action light and is more about being retrospective and thinking about everything that they've had to deal with, but at the same time, the Vikings in general, they're not exactly the kind of people that are going to step back and think, man, all these people that we've killed, all these women that we've had our way with, all this loot that we've taken from our enemies, and the fact that we are still alive and feel amazing. Maybe this is wrong, guys, you know? They're not going to do that, so if that does happen, I think it's going to have to be done in a very organic way, otherwise it's going to feel very ham-fisted. Now, other characters in the show can do that. Thorfinn definitely can do that. I even think Askeladd could get away with that, because he kind of hinted at it when we first sort of met him. And anybody who's related to Thorfinn back in the place that he comes from, the name escapes me, but that little, you know, snow-covered village, that could work. And if they introduced any more English characters that are going to be recurring, that could work as well. And I'm assuming at some point we're going to see the return of Floki and his particular scary legion of fighters, but I don't know, it just feels like this show hasn't necessarily been what I think some people were saying it would be, and that hasn't been a bad thing. I've thoroughly enjoyed Vinland Saga, and I hope you guys have as well. Please let me know down in the comments what you thought of this episode and what you think of the series so far. But that's probably going to be it for this episode, guys, so like I said, if you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. That would really help the video and the channel out. If you're new around here and you want to join me for the rest of Vinland Saga, don't forget to click that subscribe button. With all that said, it's time for me to fade to black. So as always, my name is PsychoGold, and I will see you in my next video. PsychoGold, out!